what a non-confessional field as the Religionswissenschaft or study of religions. So it is a non-confessional, secular, critical field of study of religion. So my approach is a reconsideration, not affirmation, informative, not these of informative, and constructive, not destructive, and for the sake of humanity, not against humanity or humankind. Because when I was in Vatican, my professors had advised me to choose a PhD title as Muslim-Christian relations in the light of the Bible and the Quran, and I chose a critical approach, not a theological point of view. So I will reconsider and redefine some Muslim terms in my field, according to my field. In the contemporary age, the concept of Muslim identity may be considered as a reflection of erosion and instability to all other cultural identities and difficulties Muslims encounter preserving a boundary between themselves and others. The dimensions of Islam, if we speak in Ninian Maslow's 6 dimensions he has, we can enlist Islamic dimensions as the credential or doctrinal, the practical or orthopract practice, and the mystical. These are the central elements within modern construction of Muslim identity, though the nature and substance of alterity has become increasingly problematic, even horrifying. However, a careful analysis of Muslim identity also embraced their nearest alterity, such as Jewish and Christians, as being oases of existential authenticity that symbolizes the challenge to the dominant existentialist identities of modern society in Islamic world. We know that in the field of comparative study of religions, the term identity donates to the process of identification done in mutual conciliatory and accommodation between so-called others or formerly antagonistic groups. It often depicts moving towards a relatively cooperative and amicable relations established after a rupture in relationship in the past. Reconciliation between peoples in alterity demands resolution for the problems and restoration for a better society. It must be, and the correlation of a peaceful world. Therefore, reconciliation between the identity and alterity is the end state toward which practices of apology and forgiveness aim. It is a process of which apology and forgiveness are merely parts, as well as it is something altogether independent of apology and forgiveness. But global reconciliation must be instructed through the peace builders or narrators of what a conflict is about, as pointing to the things that need to be reconciled in a particular culture. In that sense, Muslims believe in Islam as the religion for humanity, sent throughout the history, thanks to Quran, so as to provide man to live their own cultural values as well as to protect their religious identities, respecting other human beings of faiths without building any ghetto walls. So the intercultural relations are often at the heart of peace-building processes by being at once part of the problem and part of the solution for a peaceful society. In this respect, we need a Muslim identity recognizing the alterity. Religious alterity, in a sense, is a distinctive mode of intercultural creativity, a creativity that both discovers and creates limits for human existence. Therefore, Muslim religious identity are constructed on faith that forms a worldview, dogmas, myths, rituals, and experiences solely and fully expressed must be in a multicultural society. Religious identity are consisted of spiritual world itself, as well as of religious perceptions, judgments, and reactions performed against the others. A religious person never attends both to church and mosque just because of his or her clear identity. While the faithful forms his or her identity, rejects the other or alternative forms of religion. It is very clear. Especially the person in a society needs such acceptance and rejection just in order to construct religiosity or religious personality, along with other factors such as socio-cultural ones. So our mental activities on the faith are basic guides for the rational or irrational actions. The difference and particularity are basics for our identity. Second one is Muslim faith must be reconsidered in inclusivistic way towards the alterity. Muslim faith makes normative regulations for Muslims, such as the uniqueness and the superiority of Islam. In Catholic principle, extra ecclesiam nulla salus, we have our own Muslim principles, such as every religion belonged originally to Islam. It is our extra ecclesia nulla salus. So these are the hard borders of the religion and streets coming from inside towards the other peoples. Without cooperation and solidarity with Alterity gives also its place to the confliction and controversy now in the modern time. But if we look upon the Quranic descriptions and arrangements about other people such as Jewish or Christians, they are not intended to create some kind of uniform patterns or rigid cliches leading to the prejudices about others. Muslim faith simply must open the door of possibility of understanding. If we say in St. Augustinian terms, faith seeks, understanding finds. It is very simple. In that sense, Muslims believe in Islam as the submission and dependence of mankind on God, an absolute submission towards God, and absolute peace-making people towards the humanity. It very clear expression. So, therefore, the faiths apart from Islam must be de facto admitted systems and living forms of living, and must be respected according to Quran, and must be. Above all the monotheistic faiths are deserved to be respected as the prophetic line of Abraham, the forefather of all Jews, Christians, and Muslims. So we are brothers in faith. Maybe Jewish and Christians are the real brother, but a Muslim is the step brother to the Christian and Jewish. But it is not the way, it is not easy to create such a good line. Muslim orthopraxis must not be exclusivist. As being instructed and educated through the main sources of Islam, Muslims don't treat the others as the threatening person, the hostile enemy, at least as ardent opponent. Rather, they, the other people, historically and theologically, have been experienced very plural praxis and implementations, as well as they have been acquainted with living in peace altogether with other religious persons, leaving them liberty to express themselves soundly. In a theological perspective, Islam can be reconstructed and reconsidered as the religion of distributing the submission, of salvation, of liberty, and revolution. Not only it embraces all previous religious experiences, but as a monotheistic system, it also confirms all monotheist types as a continuity of revelation chains linked from Adam to the Prophet Muhammad. By this dimension, it has to claim of handling all religious contents that covers on the simple but faith. In an anthropological view, Islam, without making any ethnical exclusion of who the humanity, children of Adam, surrounding the history of man, must claim that all human races to be emphasized on as spontaneity and natural necessities, and how to support diverse cultures. Alterity in reconciliation must be appeared on. An identity based primarily on the glorification of self and question of alterity with authenticity becomes problematic when alterity itself solidifies into the essentialized foundation of identity. According to contemporary Muslims, the Quran affirms a continuing revelation to all people of the book. It means Christians and Jews. Reconciliatory approach means the acceptance of all monotheistic traditions. Therefore, all these references must be seen in the light of essentially reconciliatory messages of the Quran, in which it is affirmed that God created different nations and tribes with their cultural values for co-understanding. Therefore, there is no compulsion in religion, and that only God is omniscient. The affirmation of the diverse of the faiths and the promise that God's mercy extends to all humanity are affirmed in the Quran in several passages. Therefore, for Muslims, if we wish to establish a symbiotic and pluralistic society, there must some rules to follow. 1. Identity of the alterity. It demands appreciation of each other's and respect of others' own culture, clear and consummate identities such as Jewish and Christians, etc. These alterities are not pejoratively defined, but affirmatively and in acceptance they are ontologically permitted. Islam must provide Muslims to make close friendship and cooperation with other peoples and listen to each other's own histories. 3. Accommodation of alterity nearby Muslims. It just develops more complex narratives and more nuanced understanding of diverse cultures in a symbiotic world. A Muslim must also listen to the narration of Christian brothers or neighbors. Yes. Acknowledgement of alterity, the fourth rule. It recognizes challenges of normative truths and even it might mourn losses done in the past in Sudan. It was very annoying that when I heard about the news in Sudan. It's very annoying things. We must be human. Everyone must be human. Yes. Muslims must look upon the concept of other peoples in a humanistic way. Humanism is the precondition and the postcondition for the living on the earth. For Islam, society in which Muslims live must be absolutely a multicultural society and community. It means that an intercultural society is a natural and de facto position, not de jure situation, as perceived so far in history by Muslims. Therefore, I want to jump. Therefore, Muslims and other peoples altogether must work for creating more peaceful world and a sense of a universal unity of humanity if they wish to live according to their divine prescriptions to provide a worldview peace. It is incumbent to put forward the common values rather than conflict points. We must first be at peace with ourselves in order to create and to be reconciled with the other. A careful study of religions will lead us to the coincidentia oppositorum, the coincidence of the human diverse in reconciliation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear Professor. You still have 2 more minutes.
Well, no problem.
So I invite you, dear colleagues, to pose the questions.
Thanks, Professor. Very interesting. You laid out a case from the standpoint of comparative religion, so I understand very well.
Yes.
It's nevertheless quite theological.
Yes.
And so, do you see you're a Muslim, you're saying this. How wide, what other Muslim theologians are saying this today? I mean, who are some of the thinkers?
Muslim perception of Christians?
No, Muslim theologians laying out a theology like the one you just laid out.
Yes.
Which is.
We are in a struggle with that. We don't.
Right.
Yes.
But who else? Who would you learn from? Who else would share your approach to this issue?
We must. Islam, in essence, is the correction and must correct the mistakes, not to lead. It has to lead to the correction or the truth. Islam says and claims such. But I think for creating a normative society or particularistic society, we follow the medieval Christian perception of others. Still, we are in the past. we are living 5 centuries ago of the Christianity. Yes, it is very clear. But we must, I say every time, Muslims don't read their own book. For example, in the postmodern age, the West are in confliction with the spirituality and religiosity. We have in confliction with our tradition. We must reconsider, we must read Quran in a text critic perspective, hermeneutically. We didn't have our own Karl Rahner, our Immanuel Kant, or because we don't read even Imam Ghazali, our Averroes. Yes. Muslims don't read, don't practice, only live as a nominal Muslims. They forget everything from their past. Because Andalusian, you know, Andalusia has a very good Greek civilization, you know. My Catholic professor says every time like this, we are thankful to Andalusia and Spain, Spanish Muslims identity of Islam. Yes.
So, yeah, going along with what you said, you know, in the medieval ages, it was Muslim scholars like Averroes who translated Aristotle
Yes.
and enabled the Catholics or the Christian, you know, theologians to theologize upon the Aristotelian categories or to come up with scholastic theology.
Yes. They
Because
create
exactly, so
holistic.
that kind of openness to go beyond the boundaries was available at that time.
Yes.
Now, why do you think that is?
I say they forgot their richest heritage. Yes.
Forgot.
They forgot. We must make them remind. Yes. You know, in the medieval age, when a person talks about with the article philosopher, it means Averroes. Yes.
He didn't say
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Professor, thank you very much for your presentation. One question though about, of course, I appreciate your position about Islam
Study of
being,
religion.
yeah, Islam being more, how do you call this, conciliatory, more reconsidering other religions, etc., etc. But some of the challenges that religions today, not only in Islam but also in the other religions, are the challenges posed by, for example, fundamentalism,
Yes.
exclusivism, fanaticism.
Moreover,
Yeah.
ISIL,
So,
which is very horrible thing. Yes. Even they see me here, they will kill me. Yes, of course. Why you are standing amongst the other peoples? They will say like this.
yeah. So my question, Professor, is how do we deal with this? I mean, with these challenges?
I think we must reconcile, as I learned from the study of religion, I say my position, for example, individual position, in faith, I am particularistic. In society, I am pluralist. And in cosmology, I am only being an existent one to the cosmology as one part, integral part or unintegral, no problem, no matter, but we are a part of the creation. God created us, and God created you, and we must respect each other, because it is God's plan, or in a Catholic understanding, the plan of salvation. Yes. For you, for example, I am an anonymous Christian, if you are a Catholic, but for me, you are also a submitted one in a minuscule M, not in the big M, capital one, but a submitted one. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mustafa, for your presentation. It's very actual. And I would like to ask you about your key points concerning reconciliation, yes?
Yes.
As I understood, the key point is reconciliation amongst the cultures and religions in this world of diversity and alterity, yes? But my question is, in what particular forms this reconciliation might be implemented?
Yes.
Maybe you recognize such form like, for example, ecumenical movement inside the Christianity,
Yes.
or maybe some other kind. Because reconciliation, it's like a general notion,
Yes.
general.
We must
very
be
good
in
idea.
practice, yes.
Yes, what
Yes.
is in practice?
But I think these are the modern terms. The society are in the second level. The postmodern society, they discuss another thing. If they say the new generation is different, I think in what domain we will discuss at the new generation is the Facebook generation. They say, oh, you are discussing these. You must create a multi or a cyber society. Cyber society. They have our own friend. My son in the high school had got a Korean animistic friend, and he knows better than me about untouchable generations. We must prepare ourselves for this new generation. Yes, of course, in modern age, but we are still in conflict and still killing each other, bombing and auto bombs. There are many people, yes. But for us, for example, I say to my students, we must love Christians because they adore our common value, Jesus Christ. I teach them because they will be a religious person and they will go to be a imam in the mosque, I say. And every time, in the Ottoman times, in my small city, there were 3 districts, Christian districts, and the churches. There is no church now. There is no church, and they respect each other. They respect us, but we cleansed everything. And so Eliade, the great Romanian professor, says that the diverse may lead the humanity to enrichment of the cultures. Yes, diversity is very important because man escapes from the cliches to the diverse things. We wonder because we are human. Yes.
Professor, please, I have
Okay, I am speaking up more questions coming. Good, so sorry.
Thank you. I have 2 questions for you. First, can you help me with the concept? I think it's spelled darura, accommodation.
Darura, yes.
Darura, which means something like this. For instance, banks in Islamic countries, banks
Yeah.
cannot give interest on
Yeah,
capital,
sure.
but they give sort of remuneration.
Sure.
What is the impact of that
Yes,
principle
yes.
of Darura? First question. Second question. It's about natural law. Of course, back to
We
the...
call it fitra, natural law.
Okay,
Fitra.
that's about it. Of course, since the Toledo School and in Rouge and Avicenna and the Middle Age, as you just said, there is a reflection on Novus Fuseus of Aristotle, and it was received, so to speak, in the main Islamic or Arabian philosophers.
Yes.
Arabian is not the proper term. And since, well, perhaps Napoleon invasion of Egypt was a landmark, there was successive adaptations of legal codes, commercial codes first, administrative codes, then political ones, and then we came to the sensible area of family law and that kind of things, where the impact of religion is bigger, of course. And beyond that, there is Sharia and the Hadith, even beyond the Quran.
But we didn't leave our own reformation. That is why we are in a struggle
And there are
in
perhaps
the sufferings.
And are perhaps what
Yes.
someone called the new thinkers of Islam and the reformers and that kind of thing. So my second question is, what do you envisage for the reinforcement of natural law and the last strongholds
Yes.
of religion in law can be
Yes.
reformed, so to speak?
Yes, we must revive, we must reform, we must update our religion. But you know, the Muslims now update according to their own interest, individual interest. They are very large and flexible for their own individual matters, but they are very, dogmatic, because of, we have no Umberto Eco now, we don't have, only Osman Bilan is our philosopher. Yes, yes indeed. In 70 million people, Osman is the unique one. I am the maybe unique. Yes, I am the unique. It is not, I am not proud of being like this, but you know, the theologians are in confusion towards the other people. They don't define the other people. Just they say kafir, unbeliever. And if you say, you know, in Quran, God says, I am dogmatic in theology, but you must be pluralist in your society. He says like this, I understand. And we are very flexible, must be flexible in our intercultural relations. I must like and love Christians, I say every time, because Christians has got the theology of Mariology, theology of love, agape. Oh, how you can kill a person who has got affliction and love and generosity? How you can kill a person? But for that, if they kill and ISIS kill a Christian, they go to paradise for that. Paradise with wives. How? They pray for the paradise with wives. And the Russian wives, they have Russian wives. Very annoying one. Thank you very much.